Alright, I'm not sure if I have any video clips of this stuff before, but these are 3 of the bumper braces and 3 brackets for the bumpers, and I've got 1 brace and 1 bracket over there on the floor. I had to do some welding on them. Anyway, this stuff I had put in muriatic acid and let it soak and it eat all the rust off, got it to nice clean metal. Then I rinsed it off, and then it always flash rusts, but it's usually not very bad. It usually comes off with a red Scotch-Brite. But I ended up going back and blasting these with my little pop blaster and got them pretty clean. And then this is etching primer on here. It's just black etching primer, so these will need to be painted. And anyway, these 2 brackets here had a couple of issues. The holes were kind of oblonged or worn on the edge, so I kind of hit those with some weld. And then this had a little bitty crack starter right there, so I took my cutoff wheel and sliced into it and then welded it. And then this had a couple of marks here, like cut marks, and I welded those up. And then this had a crack in it, and I did the same thing. I sliced it and then welded it up. So I'm going to go back and work these over with my grinders and stuff, and I'll go through and finish them up with some 2-inch Scotch discs on my angle grinder and clean them up real nice so that it doesn't leave any, bad gouge marks in there. These don't have to be perfect, you know what I mean? It's under the car. He's not putting mirrors under the car, and they're still going to look nice. But on stuff like this, I usually like to use automotive urethane paints out of a spray gun, so it's it's durable. It'll last for years and years and years. But in this case, I'm just trying to save him a little money, and we're just going to do some spray paint on here. So probably going to use after these are etch primed, they'll all get Scotch-Brited down with a gray Scotch-Brite, a soft one or a fine one, and then I will move to probably, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to go through my spray paints and see what I've got. I've got a big selection over there, but I'm hoping for, I don't want them gloss black, obviously, but I don't know if I have a satin black or if I have a semi-gloss or, semi-flat, whatever I've got over there. If I've got a full can of it, or 2 cans, that's what I'm going to use. I may actually probably have to go buy a can, but I may not have enough at all of anything, because it's probably going to take 2 cans, I would imagine, because I'm not putting just 1 coat on there. I've got a lot of paint to choose from here, but some of the stuff's really old. You know what, I might just end up, Uncle Terry brought me this stuff. Aluminum, rust encapsulator. What is this? Extreme Chassis Black Primer. Extreme Chassis Black Gloss Finish. Oh, it's empty. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to go get some paint. Dang it. Yeah, I'll just have to probably go buy some. I've got more in here too. That's full up there, and this is there's a whole bunch of paint, spray paint behind this, but this is mostly vinyl dye, interior trim paints right here, this EM stuff. And those are those duplicolor, what do you call them? Those car colors, I guess. thought I had a couple of sheets of gray Scotch-Brite, and apparently I do not. I can't find them anywhere, so all I got is red, and it's a little bit too harsh, but I'm just going to have to do it with light pressure because it's all I got. So I need to Scotch-Brite all these parts and then blow them off and then wipe them down and then paint them. As I stated before, I'm just going to be spray painting them to save a little time and a little bit of money and keep me from having to clean the paint gun and use materials and all that kind of crap. So I went to Tractor Supply, which is very close to my house, and I got a can of this. I'm not sure a can's going to cover it, but I'm going to try. Anyway, this is, I've never tried this before in an aerosol, but I'm going to. This is low gloss black, which means it won't be super glossy. I don't want to put gloss paint on stuff that's pitted like that because it'll just magnify the pits and look like garbage. So it'll kind of be about the way it is now. It'll just be kind of camouflage looking a little bit. Not as prominent as gloss paint would be on it, I should say. So I'm gonna get started. I got a lot of freaking prep to do here. This stuff comes out pretty strong, which is probably not really a bad thing for what I'm doing here. But this is as normal with a Rust-Oleum spray paint. They usually take a long time to dry, which I was afraid of that. But that's usually a sign of a pretty good quality spray paint if it takes a little while to dry, you know what I mean? I do think that since this is Farm and Upland, I think this will be some pretty good stuff, you know, for, you know, like driving in the rain and moisture gets up on this stuff and in behind things, and I think it'll be just fine. But it definitely has a little bit more of a black tone to it over the primer. The primer that I had on there, it kind of looked like a, I don't know, like a dark gray, and this is more black. So that's a good thing. This is the low gloss black, and I've put 2 heavy coats on this stuff on these sides here. Well, there's the bumper brackets all painted, and that paint took, like, it was still tacky last night when I quit, so it's dry today obviously. But anyway, that usually when a paint, you know, takes longer to dry, it's usually, I would say, probably a little bit more durable than like a fast dry aerosol. We'll go with that anyway. But I got the brackets painted, and that part's done. Now I'm on to another. This has turned into kind of a dilemma. So obviously when I do something, I always want to do the best I can do, especially when it's for a customer. You know, they're paying you to do a job, and you want to do a nice job. So anyway, Steve has, he wanted to do vintage air on his car at first, and then found out how much money it was going to be to do that. On top of having, you got to keep in mind, he's having to have the car redone by me now. So anyway, it's something that he's probably going to put in later. But for now, he wanted to go ahead and do his deluxe factory heater box stuff and put it in there. So anyway, I took it apart and to restore it, basically, because the heater box on these cars, the 55 and 56, you can see a lot of it hanging underneath the dash. It's very, very prominent under there. So it needs to look nice. The thing had been spray painted. It had been painted a couple of times, and I had to use chemical paint stripper on it to get it clean. And then I started DAing on these parts a little bit, and then I'm using some sandpaper by hand in some areas to get them clean. But what I have found is some pitting in the metals, rust pitting. Now there's no through rust, it's just pitting. And anyway, I'm pretty bummed out about it. Now I had originally planned on painting his heater box with some Summit Racing paint. It's in a can, it's a urethane, and it's called carbon fiber pearl, I think, or something like that. And I was going to base coat, clear coat it out of a spray gun. And it would have been a nice high quality paint on that heater box, because you do see a lot of it underneath the dash. However, using just a a gray pearl color, the underneath of that needs to be smooth and nice, or you're going to see all, like if I painted this with base coat clear coat gray, you're going to see all the pits in the metal. So I've kind of come up with a new plan here, and I think this is actually going to work really awesome. So I think I'm going to go ahead and go this route, and it's basically going to save Steve a lot of money, because I would have to end up buying some high build primer to put on this heater box to fill in these pits, and then I'd have to go back and hand block the heater box out to get the pitting out of it. So anyway, I'm just going to play off original, but I'm also playing off of paint that is here, that has been on my shelf for probably more than 10 years, 10, 11, 12 years. And I'm just going to go ahead and use it, and that way he doesn't have to get charged for the paint. It's free. So anyway, kind of run you through what I'm doing here. So this is his heater box parts here. And you see a lot of this underneath the dash, sticking down underneath the dash, especially this area here. This goes way down on top of that trans tunnel. So you see a lot of this. So this needs to look pretty good. Now, originally these heater boxes in these cars were painted hammer tone gray. And if you're not familiar with a hammer tone paint, they have some kind of funky finish, almost kind of like a texture, kind of. So anyway, that's the way the factory was. Now, if you go to a hardware store, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, you can find hammered finish spray paint right here. And anyway, this is what I have done 2 other heater boxes with this stuff. But anyway, I use Krylon Fusion. Now, what's funny is this is black hammered. It says black, not gray. And I had bought the gray or silver hammered, I don't remember. They have one. They have a gray or a silver hammered. And I bought one of those, and I bought one of these to do some test stuff with. And what I found is the black hammered is closer to the original than the other one. The other one's too silver, and it's too bright. It was too flashy, so anyway, the ones I did with black hammered. And I can show you here. So actually laid it on pretty heavy on the back side of this. I'll show you here. Now I've got an original heater box here. This is out of the, I don't remember if this was out of the 2-door post 55 or the 4-door post parts car that Randy brought me. But this box here, this is a deluxe heater box. This heater box, I can restore this and make it look new, but it's going to take, I would have to high build prime this. This one's heavy pitted as well. Not as bad as Steve. Steve is actually in a lot better shape than this one. This is the face side, and it's pretty rough, man. By the time that's blasted, it's going to have to be, filled and blocked out to be nice. So anyway, it is restorable. But this is the original color. I wiped this off a little bit. I didn't polish it, I just wiped it off. And you can actually see the paint stamp there that the factory put on, which is kind of cool. But anyway, it is hammered finish, and I don't know if it's going to show up in here under the shade. Let's take it out here in the sun. So you can see that hammered, hopefully that's showing up in the camera. And it's like a, I don't know, a medium to dark gray color. And the Krylon is way lighter than that. It looks like silver, and I just don't like it. The black, I think, is the closest, but it still looks like a charcoal gray instead of just black. But this is the hammered black, and I shot it on the corner inside of this heater box just to get a visual of it. But it's close. It's not, it's not a perfect match, but it's close enough, you know what I mean? Now, here is my main deal on this. With the pitting in the heater box, instead of me having to go through and do a 2K high build primer or a polyester primer on this and let it cure, and then go back and hand block this thing all out, and then reprime and rescuff it again for paint adhesion, I can pretty much, after this gets back cleaned to metal again, I can go in and prime this with that etching black aerosol primer, and then after that dries, I can lightly scuff it and just put this stuff right over the top of it. Now, this was a bad pitted area of his heater box right here, and I just shot it over the bare metal. I'm going to wipe this off with reducer here in a minute, get it back clean, but Anyway, you don't notice the pits in that hammered finish. It almost camouflages it. So anyway, his heater box, it has pitting all along this edge down here. And there's hit and miss craters kind of everywhere on it. And there's a pretty bad spot right here on the corner. And this is very, very visual in the car. So anyway, this would set on the firewall, but this is right on top of the trans tunnel. So if I painted this with base coat, clear coat, just a gray pearl, you're going to see every one of them pits in there. Unless I go in and use high build primer, block it out, slick, smooth, and all that kind of stuff. If I do aerosol etching primer, lightly scuff it, and then just put the spray paint hammered finish over the top of it, I don't have to spend all the labor and the time and materials, you know, on that. So in my opinion, this is a good cost-effective way to go, and I know there's probably other guys out there that probably is going to have a pitted heater box. That I'm basically just trying to show you what I think is a good viable option to save a little money and still get a good quality finish out of something. The hammered finish is going to camouflage those, I believe. So anyway, now I'm a perfectionist. I like things to be nice, and especially when I have a customer paying for a job. However, I'm going to have a lot of material. You know, I'll have to go get some primer to put on here. It'll have to be shot out of a spray gun, so I'll have to clean that spray gun when it's over with, and then, you know, shoot it again, and then clean the paint gun again. So I've got that time and the materials cost in that stuff. Versus, I have 3 cans of hammered finish spray paint here that I can put on this, and I'm not going to charge him for the spray paint because it's been on the shelf for 10, 11, 12, 13 years. I don't even know. So, you know, I think this is the route I'm going to go. It's going to be a lot faster and way less money. At this point, it's just labor. So I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Now I'll show you on my car how much of this you can actually see in case you're not familiar with these cars. So I have a 55 Chevy hardtop, and 55 and 56 Chevy take the same dash, same heater box stuff. So this would be the same as a 56. 57 is different. That's how much of that heater box is visual in here under the car. You see all of that, and if I didn't have the aftermarket tissue dispenser, Kleenex tissue dispenser under here, you would see all this other side, which, if you've never seen this before, this is a Kleenex tissue dispenser. It was an option you could get in these cars when they were new, and I changed this into a cup holder system. So I plated all this in. Now that's the rest of the heater box down there. Now that is a quarter panel crest with the bow tie in it. That is an original from this car, and I panel bonded it on there and blocked it out, and basically it looks like it's embossed in the metal. So that is a custom thing. I'd never seen that done. I'd done it to this, and that's what makes my car unique, is all this little stuff I did like that. But you know, that part right there is very prominent underneath this dash. He's not going to have that tissue dispenser here. You're going to see a lot of that. So it's either spend the money and the time on materials to, you know, make the box super slick to put this kind of paint on there, or do a hammered finish, which is just like stock, and call it a day. And I think he's probably going to tell me just do the spray paint. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Now your vents in the kick panels, there's one there and a bigger one over here. They take the same finish, the hammered finish gray. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot all his kick panel vents as well. Now, this was in an older video. The kick panel screen, I can't remember. It seems like one of his was really bad pitted or something, and I ended up finding one. I think I got it at Perky's. I don't remember. But anyway, I got that screen, a different one for him, and I blasted it, and it has a little bit of pitting just like the heater box has on it. Nothing through, no through rust. Just has some pitting in it. And so that one is actually going to need a little bit of work if I done that as well. So it would have to be high build primed as well, is what I'm saying. If I do the hammered finish, I don't have to do all that. So I don't know, man. I think it's just kind of a faster way for me to go about this, and it's really cost effective for Steve at this point. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to charge him for this hammered finish spray paint because, like I said, it's been on the shelf for a long time. I've done a couple of heater boxes in the past for my cars with that stuff, but anyway, I like to paint them like I painted my car. It's 2006, oh, excuse me, 2006 Honda Galaxy Gray Pearl. And it's very close to the original color, but it's a base coat clear coat and it's a pearl. So anyway, basically what I'm saying is if I do another one for me, I'm going to use the Honda Galaxy Gray on it because I have a little bit of that left. So anyway, I doubt I ever use this hammer tone finish, and it'll just sit out here and not get used. So at this point, I can donate it to the project and roll on. So what do you guys think? I mean, obviously, I would want to high build prime that, block it out, and make it very nice, at least this top face side, and then block it out and then reprime it, light sand it, and then paint it. But that's a lot of time and labor and materials, you know, involved in that. So this is just kind of a pretty cost-effective way to go, in my opinion. So anyway, I've talked about it enough. Thanks for watching. All right, so it is Friday morning and beautiful day today. So I was planning on painting all these heater box parts today, but it is not going to happen. It's just, this is not going to work. This is why I have such a hard time trying to do something, try to save money, I guess, and, you know, not do something. So this is going to have, I'm going to have to actually putty this right here. So this heater box, I sanded everything down, cleaned it all up to clean metal yesterday, and then I etch primed it inside and out. So this is all, you know, black etching primer. So you can really see the pits in this metal now, and then that dent right there. There's a little something here. It was actually a dent yesterday, and I hammered it out from the back side. Now it's got a little bit of a high spot, so this needs to be hammered back again on this side just a little bit. And then you can see, you know, little pits everywhere. This is really bad in the corner. Now you see about half of this hanging underneath the dash. Now his dash in his car, it's painted, it's buffed, it has all new chrome bezels and stuff, you know, new bow tie dash trim. It's a brand new car. He's gonna have new upholstery and everything. So I don't want to put in a heater box face that looks like this. So my original idea was, after I found the pitting, I would just go in and do that hammer tone finish, but it would camouflage the pitting, but it won't camouflage a dent, you know what I mean? So I could probably hammer this out, but it does have a crease in it, so it's really going to need to be puttied up. So I think I'm just going to go ahead, and it's going to have some primer. It's going to have to be blocked out, period. I cannot put out that lack of quality there, because, you know, it's going to have a new heater core, new heater valve, new cables. I went to Lowe's and bought a brand new pack of number 8 stainless steel oval head Phillips screws. So all the little number 8 Phillips screws that goes in the entire box, those will all be switched out to stainless steel. So, you know, it'll look like $1 million, and it's not going to look like $1 million with pits in it. So, you know, if this wasn't visible, I would have no problem just spraying that hammer tone paint on there, but it is visible. So I'm going to go ahead and fix it. It just needs to be done, you know. So now I need to sand this down a little bit, and I'm going to see what kind of primers I have. I don't know exactly what all I have over here in a cabinet. Uncle Terry brought me some paint products, so I'm going to dig through that stuff and see if there's anything in there that's like a 2K primer or something like that, because I don't remember everything that he brought me. I'm hoping that I have something, because I don't want to have to go buy something. You know, I still want to save Steve some money, but I got to turn out a good product, you know what I mean? It's got to look good when it's done. And it's just because half of it's visible underneath the dash, and this lower half is the roughest, man. I mean, this is terrible. But you can see the pitting in this thing. It's terrible. Like, it is absolutely terrible. And I have another heater box here, but you know, I showed it in that video clip yesterday showing you the paint, the original hammer tone on it, and this is going to be the best box face I have here. Anyway, I'm going to put a primer on this, I guess. Dang it. After I sand it. Well, I dug around in some of the stuff that Uncle Terry brought me, and actually brought me, it's half and half. So this is the activator, this is the primer. This is actually a 2K DTM primer. Now I've heard of this brand before, but I've never used it. But you know, it's primer, so I'm gonna try it. I don't know how old it is. I'm assuming it's pretty old by the look of the thing. And you know, sometimes your activators, once they've been opened and left, you know, the seals broke on them, basically they don't last very long, supposedly. I have done it, used old activators before, and I've not really noticed anything different happening. But I'm going to go ahead and use this because it's here. And the downside is if it doesn't harden up, which I'm pretty sure it's going to, if it doesn't for some reason activate, basically like the hardener's no good, all I'll have to do is brush on some chemical stripper on this box piece here and rinse it off with a hose. So, and I'll just be right back to where I was to begin with. So that's what I'm gonna do, because this is here and it was given to me, so I don't have to charge Steve for it. It's free. So for me, it's kind of worth trying it. Anyway, that's a premium 2K DTM primer, and if you don't know what DTM means, it's direct to metal. So it's basically, if you have bare metal, you can put that over that. So that's what I'm gonna do. Well, wish me luck. Well, I don't know about this. It's glue, that's for sure. All right, guys, so I worked that primer over pretty good, and I've got it where it's nice and smooth, consistent. So that stuff, you know, no telling how long it's set, so everything kind of settled at the bottom. And I don't have a paint shaker, so I've got that pretty much ready to go. And I shook the crap out of the activator too, in case some of it was settled. Anyway, I ended up, I did some more hammer work on this, on some of the high areas. I just light flat hammered the areas a little bit, and then I hit it with my 36 grit grinder just enough to, you know, knock the highest of the high off of it. I didn't grind a whole bunch of metal off. I was just knocking the big part of it out, if there's even anything there, because all it's going to do is give me more adhesion for the filler anyway. But this is pretty rough, man. So had I not have blocked that, I wouldn't have seen how rough that was. And then when it got painted, obviously shiny paint, it would have magnified that, and that'll look like crap. So this is what I'm going to be using. This is Dolphin Glaze. I kind of like this stuff. And then there's the activator for it. I've got a brand new little spreader here. So I put tape around this. I went back and did some 120 grit on this just to scratch it up a little more harsh, because what I was using before, this is it's either 180 or 220 that I used to sand this first to find my spots, and that's not really harsh enough, in my opinion, for me to put something like that over. So I went ahead and scratched it off with some 120, and anyway, we'll go from there. But I put tape around it, and I put tape in behind the holes for where the screws go, and it's basically to keep Bondo worms from going in there. So I call them Bondo worms. It's when you apply filler over a spot and there's a hole in the panel, and then on the back side it looks like a little worm coming out of it. After it dries and cures, it looks like a little worm sticking out of there. So now I put tape back there. So I'll mix up this filler, and I will wipe this whole area that you see right here. I've already wiped this down with wax and grease remover. You know, I'll wipe this whole face side of this with that putty, and then when it right as I set this down, the spreader, I'm going to pull my tape. All I'm doing is trying to keep a bunch of excess from building up on the edge. So it's pretty warm today, and this stuff, when it starts kicking, it kicks pretty quick. So I want to be sure I have all this concentrated on and not have to worry about all the buildup around the edges rolling over, you know what I mean? Look like a tidal wave over the sides sometimes. So anyway, I'll pull the tape before that stuff is completely cured. And anyway, after that kicks off, I'm going to go ahead and start blocking it out. And I'll use some 120 grit on a hard block. And I'll X-pattern this whole thing. And hopefully I don't have to add more, but I most likely will. You know, a little bit more in spots. But anyway, after it's all done and it's blocked, and then it's ready for its primer, I'll then turn it upside down. I'll pull the tape off from these screw holes, and then I'll take a drill bit on this side because I can see the hole, and I'll drill it out. So that's how I do my holes in panels, because they always get filler in there. Instead of doing it with it all wet, and then you're going in there trying to get it all wiped off, it just makes a mess. So anyway, that's the plan. I'm going to get this stuff mixed up and get to spreading it out here. Alright, so I got the first coat put on there and got my tape peeled off. So I'll wait for that to dry. And then I'm going to start blocking that with 120. And I'll most likely have to put some on here and there, a few little spots. But that putty it's pretty old. It's been on the shelf for probably about a year now. And it's a little on the firm side. It's not as runny as it usually is, so it was a little bit difficult to spread, but you know, it's here and it's free. It's probably not going to make it through the summer, so anyway, I'd rather try to get it going and use it. I don't have to charge him for any of this stuff. It's all that was going to end up getting thrown away anyway. And then that was given to me, so I'm just going to in turn use some of it on this for free. So it's working out pretty good for Steve on some of the stuff, we'll say. That's a good thing.